has submitted their annual report. And it is customary that such a report would come to the next sitting of the Senate in this case. And I'm asking whether or not it's an omission why that report is not contained in the list of announcements submitted to us. Because certainly I would appreciate being provided with a copy of that annual report from the Integrity Commission. May it please.
Thank you, Senator Brown. The report is to be tabled on Wednesday at the sitting of the Lower House. I'm sorry, on Tuesday. I'm sorry. If I can give you an explanation if you want, but there are some issues relating to not the content of the report, but the absence of the clerk and the speaker, but it will be tabled on Tuesday. Thank you. Bills brought from the Honorable House of Representatives. Petitions. Papers. Reports from committees. Yes, sir.
Is it from the House of Representatives? What's the situation with this bill?
It's being tabled today.
Sir, President, is that a commitment that we're going to have a recommittal during this sitting?
The bill is being tabled today. At the appropriate time, the minister will give notice.
So
this is what the big. This
so we have been assured that there's going to be a recommittal of bills from the House. Oh, it's not been brought from the. And this would not be a finance bill.
To the best of my understanding, sir, it is not a money bill. It is a bill relating to the arrangements for financial institutions as to how they're to be wound up. I believe what cannot be tabled in the Senate are matters that affect the budget. Yes.
President, since that's just been told, in whose name, which minister in the Senate brings it? Because it seems to me a bill whose portfolio rests with the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, who doesn't sit in this body. And the Constitution requires that such a minister sits elsewhere. So I'm just wondering which minister in the Senate has the authority to table this. You see, objects of reason and memorandum is probably one of the reasons why one of our colleagues is not here this morning. And it's so important that in checking the object of reason and memorandum of reason, objects of reason. How much? 235? Yeah, the question is who's? It's in the Ministers of Finance. We were brought here, I'm told, for this to be tabled. But the proper place to table this would be where the minister with portfolio responsibility sits. And so that's what I have hope. So the question I asked, which minister here has responsibility for this portfolio under which the Financial Institutions Resolution and Winding Up Act comes?
Thank you, Senator Brown. Senator Hill, you want to respond to?
Mr. President, I won't argue with my colleague across the floor. There's another issue involved with this bill, my colleague Senator Brown, and it's one of timing. The minister is actually in Singapore, and because of the commitments we have with the IMF, it has to be tabled today to meet the commitment. And so there's a timing issue. He still remains with responsibility for the bill, but he's not in Jamaica, and we have to make that timing requirement. So it is being tabled today in the Senate, and it's not then to usurp his authority, but to make sure we meet the timeline with the IMF.
And that whilst the bill is tabled in the Senate, it's not necessary that the debate will start here in the Senate, but just to meet the timeline, and then the minister will start the debate in the lower house. That is what is to take place? All right, well, yeah, but I mean,
When Senator Morris is finished.
Mr. President, I mean, I want Senator Sinclair to just calm down a little bit, because we have a constitutional duty in the Senate, you know, and as opposition, we have a right to make.
Nobody not questioning, and it's a learning, experience for me as well.
I see Senator Sinclair getting very antsy, and I'm watching him carefully. So, you know, but I mean, I understand the procedural issue that is taking place.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. President.
You hear what Senator Morris said, that he's noticing that you are getting antsy.
Sinclair.
No, let me just see what is happening. Who stood first? Let me see. No, Senator Brown stood first.
Thank you, President. President.
No, because when I press the thing, I know who pressed.
President, I understand, and you should learn that if the last word is always a better one. So I'll give you the last word here. President, the cabinet is responsible for legislation coming to the Parliament. And the issue of separation of power is important. President, the last amendment, there's an amendment to a bill recently where having to do with whether or not the budget had conformed with the Constitution. The Minister of Finance was not present, but a member of the House of Representatives was delegated by the Cabinet, by the Prime Minister, to open and to take charge of that debate in respect to whether the budget had met the constitutional requirement and whether or not there needed to have been an amendment. And I am surprised that the cabinet of the country did not take that route of having the minister, I believe in that case, it was him, the junior minister in finance, who brought it. It was the Minister of Education who brought it, a full member of the cabinet. So I'm surprised and disappointed that the cabinet has chosen not to take that route. And I say this, President, because issues of the Constitution, be it the tracking of people's privacy or otherwise,
No, Senator.
Otherwise, are very
1 minute, Senator Brown.
germane.
1 minute, Senator Brown. So take a seat for me, please.
Mr. President, I don't know where Senator Brown is actually going. And
Well,
all of what he's saying is totally irrelevant to what even is,
Sorry, am I
it is
allowed to
irrelevant.
speak? Whether it's
Right?
irrelevant or not, am I
It
allowed
is
to
irrelevant. You
You're not in
can't
the
just
chair.
be in here and just speak in anything.
You're not in the chair.
Well, I am appealing to the president. Because, Mr. President, the issue that you have before you is one as to whether a bill can be tabled here.
Senator Brown,
That is what he has raised,
raised another point about that, you know. Yeah.
Yes.
But I don't
Where
hear it yet,
he's
so hold
going-
on, let me hear
where
now.
he's going with his commentary about tracking and all of that, Mr. President, has nothing to do with what we're dealing with right now. It is irrelevant. The issue that he is looking at, because we are at a point, they are asking about a bill being here. The acting clerk has indicated to all of us, and I'm certain Senator Brown would have heard it, that it is not a money bill. The standing orders that we have and we practice under allows under standing order 48 for what is being done, to be done. And it is supported by the Constitution.
Senator Sinclair.
So for him to go off and talking about tracking and all of these other irrelevant stuff, Mr. President, what's the purpose of that?
Senator Sinclair, there is no suggestion that what is being done is irregular. In fact, Senator Morris, whose experience I value highly, aside from noting that you came up to hand me the standing order.
I didn't hand you the standing order because you do have a
So,
copy.
Senator Brown, today is a short day, and Senator Brown, I'm allowing him to talk. So you can. No, not at all, and he's going to remain relevant.
President, the concern I have is that as senators, we have to be zealous in guarding the Constitution. And if a bill comes under the name of a minister who sits in another place, it is our duty to ask whether that conforms with the Constitution. Because let me be clear. There are many issues here that has come up in the Senate where we have taken a certain view of the Constitution. And the other side, including Senator Sinclair, have taken another view of the Constitution. And that power in the Constitution, the judiciary, have ruled in several cases that you were wrong and we were right. And we will not refrain from asking whether it is constitutionally proper for a bill in the name of a minister in the other place to start it. Unless the intention is to do this year, let the IMF believe that it has been, pull it back, and then table it down there, which kind of sound a little, sorry. I will wait to say Trumpish, but
Thank you, Senator Brown. Papers, reports from committees, notices of motions given orally. Oh, we don't reach questions. We did questions? No, we haven't reached there so yet. Senator Hill.
Mr. President, as I explained earlier, the minister is overseas, but right now, I beg to give notice at the next meeting of the Senate. I will move to introduce and have read a first time a bill shortly entitled the Financial Institutions Resolution and Winding Up Act 2024, which Senator Morris saw and understood the process. Thank you very much.
Questions and answers to questions?
Certainly, President, I have a question which I'll raise the prompt that is required. But I thought where we're on the agenda was not matters arising from matters from the House. There's no recommittal.
Questions and answers to questions?
Mr. President, I beg to give notice that at the expiration of 21 days, I will ask the Minister, and I see the House Clerk, I said, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, questions submitted by me. But my submission, and I don't know why it was changed, was to the Minister of Information.
Yeah, that's what I signed. That's what I had signed to.
But except here, so let me...
What is it? What is it saying there?
It says the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. So I wish my questions to be directed at the Minister with responsibility for information.
Okay, Senator Brown, it's going to be amended. Would you just amend it to read the Minister of Information, Senator Morris Dixon, please?
I don't need to call her name, just the Minister. Mr. President, I beg to give notice that at the expiration of 21 days, I will ask the Minister with responsibility for information the following questions standing in my name.
Thank you very much,
Are
Senator.
submitted by me.
Thank you, Senator Brown. Motions that may be made at the commencement of public business requiring notice. Motions relating to the sitting of the Senate. Motions for leave to introduce bills. The presentation of bills without the leave of the Senate first obtained. Public business. Minister, I recognize you from a seat other than your own, by the way.
Thank you, Mr. President. Given that there's no other business on the agenda for today, I ask that the Senate be adjourned for a date to be decided.
The Minister has moved. The question is that the Senate be adjourned for a date to be fixed. Those in favor? Aye. Against? I'm sorry.
And you took all this time?
Oh, I'm sorry. Senator Golden Campbell?
Sorry, Mr. President, apologies. I should have spoken a little earlier. The question that Senator Lambert Brown asked, will copies be circulated? I don't have a copy.
Yes, there will be.
Very well, thank you.
Thank you very much. The question is that...
It's not my obligation. I submit it to you and the
No,
clerk.
we know. I'm well aware of
It's the
that.
Parliament who will then put it in the standing
Yes.
order.
Yes.
Because everybody needs to be taught the proper way to do things.
The question
I
is that
didn't
the
say she was
Senate...
accusing me.
The
I
question-
didn't say she was accusing me.
The question is that the Senate be adjourned for a date to be fixed. Those in favor? Against? This honorable Senator Ransford Bram, welcome. I didn't even see when you came in. Coming from one of the lower courts, we'll talk. The question is that the Senate be adjourned for a date to be fixed. Those in favor? Yes. Against? Senate now stands adjourned for a date to be fixed.
Cook it up and make we steam it. Fresh so me need it, tilapia a real fish. Cook it up and make we roast it. Farm fresh so me need it, tilapia a real fish. Grow smart at the best.